So you really want to know why you're not getting better at guitar, or just hang out to find out. So I'm going to give you 5 monster tips that are really going to help you with your progress. Tip number 1, consistency. You've got to be consistent with your playing. That doesn't mean you need to play constantly, but you do need to play consistently. Obviously, every day is best, but it doesn't have to be every day. But you do need to be consistent, right? The way your brain works is like this. It doesn't work very well if you say don't practice for a week and then blast 3 or 4 hours on a Sunday. It works a lot better if you do it, say, half an hour a day or an hour a day or whatever you might do a day. If you do it consistently and trickle it in, your brain builds these things called neural pathways. And when you've built a neural pathway one day and it gets built upon more the next day, things just get better and better. If you leave things for a while, those neural pathways kind of die off a little bit and you've got to build them up again. So consistency is key. It's not only consistency of when you practice, it's consistency of how you practice, right? So when you're doing, let's say, a lick, it needs to be done the same way every time. So you've just got to iron out how to do it and then repeat it exactly the same way and be really bang on with this. So let's say the lick is this. Right, which is kind of a bebop lick. When I'm doing that, my picking is exactly the same every time. It's quite a complicated lick. It's quite long. It's not a kind of run-of-the-mill lick. But I'm picking it the same way every time. Let's say I'm doing a more typical blues lick. You can see I'm using the same fingers. I'm picking it the same way every time. It's consistent. Because if it's consistent, my brain will learn it that way and it will repeat it the same way next time. If occasionally I do it differently, my brain's going to occasionally repeat it differently and I'm going to get in a mess, okay? So you've got to do things the same every time, right? I remember reading in a book about a guy who said, imagine you're doing a lick and you're doing it perfectly 100 times. Guess what's going to happen the 101st time? And I thought, that's very powerful. Next thing, goals, right? You've got to have goals. You've got to know what you want to be able to do. A lot of guitar players don't goal set very well. They just kind of like noodle aimlessly and wonder why they're not getting anywhere. Well, they don't know where they're going. So you might say a goal might be, I want to learn 10 BB King licks and put them into different contexts. That's a very specific goal. And then plan out how you're going to do it. Have a strategic approach to this. Treat it a bit like a job, right? When you're at work, whatever you do, the boss might say to you, I want you to do this. What is your plan to do it? You set it out. You have little deadlines, goals, all that sort of thing. Yeah, you need to do the same in your playing, right? Otherwise, if you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there because you don't even know where the destination is. So having goals, long-term goals, mid-term goals, short-term goals is a really important thing to do and make them really specific. Number 3, and this is probably the most important of all, this is discipline, right? Discipline to me is the key word for playing guitar. A lot of my students say to me, well, look, you're playing all the time. You're teaching all day. You're doing these videos, books, blah, blah, blah. And you still play a lot. You gig a lot. How do you stay motivated? Now, I don't think I am really motivated. I'm just disciplined. It's just what I do. I've just decided I'm going to play guitar. I'm just focusing on playing guitar. It's by far the biggest thing in my life, right? And that's what I do, right? And I'm just going to just keep doing it and doing it and doing it because that's what I've decided that I want to be. I want to be, a guitarist. This is what I want to do. Okay. And that's what I'm doing. And I don't wake up every day thinking I want to play guitar. I just get up and think, right, guitar playing time. It's just what I do. It's a bit like when a runner gets out of bed at 6 a.m. in the morning and goes for a run. Don't tell me they always want to go for a run. I've been there and done that. And I didn't want to go for a run every time, but I was disciplined enough to do it. So you just got to decide, right, this is what I'm going to do, right? I don't care how I feel. I don't care on the day whether I want to do it or not. I'm just going to do it, right? And if you have that mindset, that discipline, it just takes you forward. Then you get consistency of practice and things start happening. Number 4 is, how do you know you're not getting better? Lots of guitarists say to me, well, I just don't think that I'm really getting better, or I'm not getting better fast enough. But how do you know that, right? You've got to have a way of recording that, or a way of assessing it. Now, a really good way is this. Let's go back to our 10 BB King licks goal, right? How do you know that you're going to be able to play those in a way that you want to be able to play them and you're happy with them? Well, you've got to have some way of assessing your progress. And a really good way of assessing your progress is that when you start on a journey, you record yourself playing whatever it is you're trying to play. Then at the end of the journey, you record that again and you listen back to them. A 3-month period is quite a good standard thing to do this over. Yeah. And what will happen then is you'll be able to see a distinct difference between 3 months ago and now if you've done it properly. And what does that do? That motivates you to think, bloody hell, actually, I have made really good progress. There's a big difference here between my playing it as it was 3 months ago and how it is now. But without that, you can't see that. You've got nothing to measure it with, and therefore you don't really know that you're making progress, and therefore you're not as inclined to do more work in the future. If you know the process works, you'll keep going through the process. So having a way of measuring your progress is massively important. You've got to be able to do stuff in different contexts. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is when you learn a lick, don't just learn it either on its own or over one backing track. Simply because if you come to do it in a different context, a different place, a different situation over a different song, you tend to freeze. So you need to be able to play it in lots of different keys, lots of different backing tracks, lots of different songs. So you can just drop that in wherever you like. Let's take this. Yeah. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to play it over different backing tracks in different keys, right? And I might have to adapt it slightly, but this is a really powerful thing to be able to do. There you go. I did the same lick in a bunch of different contexts, different keys, different feels. Yeah. And sometimes it takes you a little while to adapt to that sort of different feel, but it's a really good thing to be able to do. And you want to do that with lots of different things that you play, put them into different contexts, and it really helps you grow as a player. So there you go. A bunch of reasons that are really going to help you improve with your playing. If you put all these factors into your playing, I guarantee you're going to make really good progress. But make sure you record yourself at the start and record yourself at the end. Don't forget to like and subscribe as always. Hit that bell notification. Check me out on Patreon. Catch you next time.